Scripture reading this morning comes from Isaiah 40, verses 21 to 31. Have you not been paying attention? Have you not been listening? Haven't you heard these stories all your life? Don't you understand the foundation of all things? God sits high above the round ball of earth. The people look like mere ants. He stretches out the skies like a canvas, yes, like a tent canvas to live under. He ignores what all the princes say and do. The rulers of the earth count for nothing. Princes and rulers don't amount to much. Like seeds barely rooted, just sprouted, they shrivel when God blows on them. Like flecks of chaff, they're gone in the wind. So who is like me? Who holds a candle to me, says the Holy. Look at the night skies. Who do you think made all this? Who marches this army of stars out each night, counts them all, names them by name, magnificent, so powerful, and never overlooks a single one? Why would you ever complain, O Jacob, or whine, Israel, saying, God has lost track of me. He doesn't care what happens to me. Don't you know anything? Haven't you been listening? God doesn't come and go. God lasts. He's creator of all you can see or imagine. He doesn't tire out, doesn't pause to catch his breath, and he knows everything inside and out. He energizes those who get tired, gives fresh strength to dropouts. For even young people tire and drop out. Young folk in their prime stumble and fall. But those who wait upon God get fresh strength. They spread their wings and soar like eagles. They run and don't get tired. They walk and don't lag behind. Our gospel reading this morning comes from Mark chapter 1, verses 29 to 39. Directly on leaving the meeting place, they came to Simon and Andrew's house, accompanied by James and John. Simon's mother-in-law was sick in bed, burning up with fever. They told Jesus this. He went to look at her, took her hand, and raised her up. No sooner had the fever left than she was fixing a dinner for them. That evening, after the sun was down, they brought sick and evil-afflicted people to him. The whole city lined up at his door. He cured their sick bodies and tormented spirits. Because the demons knew his true identity, they didn't let them say a word. While it was still night before dawn, he got up and went out to a secluded spot and prayed. Simon and those with him went looking for him. They found him and said, "Everyone's looking for you." Jesus said, "Let's go to the rest of the villages so I can preach there also. This is why I have come." He went to their meeting places all through Galilee, preaching and throwing out the demons. I don't know about you, but did any of you feel a little defensive at the first part of the Isaiah text? Right off the bat, the accusations are leveled. You haven't been paying attention. You haven't been listening. You forgot the pivotal stories that you've heard all your life. And in general, don't you understand the foundation of all things? I mean, come on. And I've done some training in the past in how to have conversations with others, and this is not how you do it. You don't dive right into naming all the flaws of the person or the group of people you're talking to. This is a sure way of defensiveness to come right in and for them to tune out what you are trying to get to, the meat of the matter. But I think this passage is hopeful in the end, but it starts off really direct and really firm. Come on, you guys, don't you know the basic stuff you've been taught since you were young? All right, let's lay it out for you all one more time. And it's kind of like you're talking to a child. This writer obviously has lots of feelings, and maybe this is the 10th or 20th time they've had to say this to the group of Israelites. And the Jewish people for whom the passage is intended needed a lot of hope and good news in this particular time. They were a people who had experienced losing a war to the Neo-Babylonian Empire, and a portion were taken into the captivity and relocated to Babylon. They were literally exiles living in a foreign land, ripped away from what felt familiar and comforting. War and everything that comes with it, and with all the devastation, it rewrites the trajectory of those it impacts. So in the chaos, people lose physical connection to blood relatives, not to mention those who had been killed already. So in the process of surviving, it makes sense that some would forget the stories of their people. Never mind paying attention when you're trying to survive. Never mind listening when your basic needs are tenuous. How can you understand the foundation of things when the understanding of your place in the world has drastically changed? When you are trying to survive and reclaim control of a life that feels disorienting, you will naturally lose focus of the things you've known for years, if not decades. While few of us can probably relate to being in exile from our country, that doesn't mean that we can't find aspects of it that resonate with our own lived experience. Some of us find ourselves at odds with how to navigate a world that has drastically changed in the last 4 years. Some of us are absolutely dumbfounded how to live in this new political landscape. Our churches look different. The people that we once counted part of our community have moved on or gone to other things. And we see how well or not well our children and grandchildren and those that we care about are handling all this rapid change. And it is a deep pain when we know we can't fix it. And unfortunately, there are no easy answers. And if we know the solution, the road to the said solution is long and daunting. And when you're so weary and exhausted, knowing that the solution is so far off can feel demoralizing. And it feels like things fall into disarray in an instant, and it takes months, if not years, to set it right. And who has time for that? Not me. And to borrow the words of Veruca Salt in Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, don't care how, I want it now. I want the solution now. I don't care how climate change gets solved, we want it now. We don't care how our churches will begin to thrive again, we want it now. We don't care how our broken relationships will get fixed, we just want it now. Don't care how, we just want it now. And in this anxiousness and yearning for easy fixes, that's not new. Jesus healed Simon's mother-in-law, and before long, the whole town showed up looking for their own healing. The number of people looking for healing was large enough that Jesus had to sneak away in the middle of it to get away from all the people wanting to be healed. And we know that the crowd must have been growing impatient when they realized that the person that maybe held the answer to their problems had disappeared. And so the disciples, feeling the anxiety of the crowd, literally hunted down Jesus. And Jesus resists it. He doesn't go back to them, and in a way, he probably could have just waved his hand at the whole crowd and they all would have been healed. That would have been a quick fix for sure. But over and over again throughout the Gospels, we see Jesus draw near to those desire healing. Jesus models a different way, a way that requires personal connection, conversation, and a deliberate touch of healing. There seems to be some aspect to the healing power of relationships that goes hand in hand with Jesus' power. He could have healed every person that came to that house that night, and that would have done a lot of good. But that does not seem to be Jesus' goal. In a crowd of people who needed him, he slipped away to recenter himself. And even when the disciples pressured him to come back and heal just one more person, maybe a couple more, he remained firm that it was time to move on, time to move to other people that needed him, time to get to preaching, time to get to the heart of why he was there on earth. And for the people that were not healed that day, their fate wasn't sealed. It's important to note that the demon-possessed or evil-afflicted people who this passage talks about, these were the type of people that were often pushed to the edges of society. Because for whatever reason, whether demon possession or mental illness or just behavior that didn't fit the norms, these folks were exiled in their own community. Whatever ailed these folks was beyond their control, but what was within the control of the community after Jesus left was the ability to welcome them back into community. I wonder if the people that were evil inflicted and healed by Jesus that day got a new perspective. Having been in that situation, maybe they were the first person that said, "We want you back into our midst. We want you to be in the heart of things because you are so important to this life of this community." And lest we think that this is an issue that was only in Jesus' time. The past 4 weeks, a group of folks from this church and 4 other communities around the Twin Cities have been reading a book on Christian response to homelessness. Kevin Nye names the broader solutions to homelessness, but what he names as a tangible thing that Christians of any age can do to address the situation is to foster authentic relationships with people, including the people that are homeless, maybe experiencing mental illness, addiction, exhibiting behaviors that make us uncomfortable. Getting someone housed, he says, is a good first step, and of course, we always lead with housing first as a solution to people that need housing, right? Sounds simple, but unfortunately, that's not the norm in all societies. But what he names as a vital piece of these people maintaining stability is not more money, necessarily, it is helpful, but it is what relationships are built and are brought back into this person's life. Over and over, Kevin reminds us that any solution that we come up with will not succeed without meaningful relationships. And he names the church as a big part of this. And after a person being on the margins of society, we've noted encampments literally being cleared out, several in the last couple of weeks, because the very existence of homelessness the homeless in our midst, just the image of them is too much for some to bear. And when you receive that reminder that you are an exile in your own city, you begin to lose sight of basic things, like there is hope, or that there is possibility beyond your current circumstances. And there are less and less places in society where a wide swath of people can come together and build community. And it is at this communion table that we will all come to later in the service, where we all join to remind ourselves and each other of the stories and truths that we might have forgotten ourselves. Truths like there is enough room at this table for everyone. You won't be relegated to the kids' table in this place. You won't be barred entry because you don't look and act the way we want you to look. The things that feel overwhelming are compounded when we are isolated. So today, as we come to this table, may we be reminded this is not a table of quick fixes. This is a table where we come around, build relationships, and dream together what is possible. May we hold on to that dream together. We may not be able to do it alone, but gathered around the table, suddenly the relationships make it possible as we dream new dreams together. Amen.